Moores. Senator Hume.
Thank you, Madam Deputy President. I think that there's an awful lot here that we can agree upon. All Australians have the right to live free from fear of violence and free from fear of racial discrimination. This we can all agree upon. But the fact is that 18C is a bad law. The 18C in the Racial Discrimination Act is a bad law. It simply doesn't work. It hasn't reduced racial vilification. It hasn't done what it set out to do. Instead, it's captured in its web students at Queensland University of Technology. University students. University is a place where ideas should be contested, where people should feel free to be able to say whatever it is they want. And yet, at the same time, these students, all that they did was question the fairness of an Indigenous-only computer lab, and they did that on social media. This is not a harassment in any way, shape or form. 18C captured in its web a cartoonist whose job, whose sole purpose in life is to satirise. But it didn't capture. The Racial Discrimination Act, 18C of the Racial Discrimination Act, didn't capture a single participant in violent anti-immigration rallies in Melbourne in last November and last June. It didn't capture a single participant in the Reclaim Australia rallies in Sydney last July. The law is not working. The law needs to be amended. And I honestly feel that the amendments that have been suggested, both to the wording and to the process, are measured in their response, and they will make this law more effective. Now, the law was developed with good intention. Senator Moore is absolutely correct there. It was established to defend the vulnerable. It was established to articulate the principles of a successful multicultural society and to reflect our values of inclusion and our values of acceptance. But it is a bad law that does not achieve its objectives. And as legislators, our responsibility is to change laws that do not meet their objectives. So instead of stopping racial vilification, instead of giving practical effect of making it unlawful to instead of stopping racial vilification, it actually gives practical effect of making it unlawful to hurt people's feelings. Such a subjective term, such a subjective benchmark is impossible to maintain. It is political correctness gone mad. The only sensible course of action is to amend 18C to redirect it towards far more serious conduct. Now, I do feel that the government responded appropriately to this problem. It was the right approach to convene the Parliamentary Joint Committee on Human Rights, and my understanding is that the work that was done by that committee was done respectfully, it was done thoughtfully, and it was done very thoroughly. And the work done was on this particularly vexed and contentious issue was done with the best intentions, and the outcome, the report that came from that committee, is highly valued. I'd also like, though, to commend my coalition colleagues and the Prime Minister and the Cabinet for a very mature and considered and respectful debate and the way that this bill was developed and delivered. So let's just have a quick look at what changes were made. The bill proposes reforms to the wording of the Act, as well as to reforms to the complaints handling processes of the AIC. The current wording clearly lacks credibility. Removing that highly subjective and emotive words of offend, insult and humiliate and replacing them with the word harass, which is a far more powerful word and one which better describes the behaviour which we all want to see outlawed. The current language of the Racial Discrimination Act lacks credibility. It lacks credibility. Madam Deputy President, it is not lost on me that this side of the chamber that yesterday was Harmony Day. We are a nation of migrants, a proud nation, but we're also a nation that values our freedoms, and the freedom of speech is fundamental, elemental to all other freedoms. The changes proposed to the Racial Discrimination Act are not something we should fear, but we should embrace. This is not a watering down of the law. It creates a clearer law. It creates a stronger law, a far more credible law, and most importantly, it creates a balanced law that will defend free speech and protect Australians from genuine racial discrimination.